I'm picturing orange as kind of like an orthodoxy in that, insofar as he has all those monks. Perhaps there was some religious tension. Perhaps the blue were more moderate. That's what I like to think. Now, while red has the highest score, he would be the least formidable player. Not actually sure how he had his score so high. Might be he was just left untouched and free to boom. Might also be he had an amazing economy. Yes, that's right. Orange and red were trading, so red was left in peace and has just accumulated a huge bank. So there you can see what is a formidable grand force is nullified by the protected siege, which is so satisfying. Some juicy hits. And I've been playing Slavs a lot recently. I had no inclination to try them, but I got them on a random pick, and recently there was an update whereby their castles, you could get a bonus where they cost, the stone cost is transferred, or at least half of the stone cost is transferred to wood. And you saw me just delete my market there so they couldn't trade with me, because I wasn't benefiting and I'd forgotten to delete it, so I was basically giving them free money for a while. But sure, the Slavs also have, are they called conics? Conics. Basically, juggernaut heavy cavalry, which is nice because I would usually, like, my favourite civilizations to play are often Japanese or Tatars, for different reasons, but the unifying thing about them is they both have good cav archers, and I love walling up and picking apart offensives with cav archers because of their mobility. And so you can see how I'm actually doing okay. I'm pushing back Orange's buildings on my doorstep, sending out some raiding hussars. One thing I've learned time and time again is even if you think you're losing and that it's inevitable, send out light cavalry to try and punish their economy, because as low as your morale might be, you don't know what position they're in. They may be throwing everything they have at you and are exhausted, battle fatigued, and if you just hit them where it hurts so they don't feel invincible, you never know, they might break. So I say here, red, I'm going to go ahead and enemy you. Feel no guilt in responding in kind. So I could see here that orange wasn't faring too well on a 1v1. I didn't realise I'd already done this, but I went ahead and allied red because I was keen to play the defensive and enjoy a good siege. And so red, I think he was waiting for that, so his trebs are destroying my defenseless mill. And it's a bit of a war crime, but hey, all is fair. And so what I'm planning here is to dig through the forest, cut through the forest, straight into his base and bypass all of his walls. This is something else I don't see very often. Maybe it's the community I play with, but I don't see as often as I would imagine to have seen kind of ingenuity and inventive plays, such as the pillboxes, such as cutting around. I think it's very easy to get sort of geared into or locked into micro macro, and then we go, oh, I've had access to his siege, wiped all that out, that would be expensive to replace. But like I was saying, just thinking outside the box, I think it's easy to get so locked into what you're doing that you don't, and I'm guilty of it time and time again, of looking at the wider picture and just reevaluating, okay, let's try something else. So orange has come back with a vengeance. His morale reignited by red being forced into the war. Red not faring so well. Like I said, he perhaps wasn't as competent as orange or myself, so as soon as I got past his walls, there wasn't much of a defense. So I'm just walling there behind this forest tunnel in case things backfire, so that I can defend and not leave an open pathway to my hidden fortress. Now in the top right you can see that red has a wonder ticking. That's the reason I entered the war. There it is, no defences around it, just sitting waiting, that one tree blocking the way. So I'm just going to send some hussars in to deal with that. And oh, there we go, he deleted it. I don't know why he deleted it. Well, I suppose perhaps because he knew he was going to lose it anyway. A bit of a scorched earth policy. So orange has started using petards, which are those little orange men carrying barrels, to break down my defences, which is fairly smart. But sure, I'm only using palisade wall, so it does not cost much to replace. I think he's getting sick and tired of his expensive champions being decimated. Oh, so that woman just led some champions straight into the siege. Oh, got a nice juicy army there, ready for the second offensive to really gut Red's city. And so a concession is made to not focus those forces on defense, because I remember the way I saw it was, orange isn't, if I focus all my attention on defending this point, I'll never get to defend the actual compound behind, which if I won without that having happened, it would be a hollow victory. Oh, massive orange hits there. Because I want them to really test the defences. So I'm just taking down Red's monasteries there, and I built my own so that some priests are going to basically steal the relics, because I'm aware that they have map control, so they can trade, although I don't think they actually get round to that. But I didn't want to run out of gold, or at least have no income of gold while sieging, so relics are perfect for that. It's a little heist going on. And as you saw before, continually sending hussars out to badger their economy. Also moved all my relics to the back compound so that when I lose this, I don't lose them too. And you see this mishmash fortress at the front, which was my original town. I love it. I love a good siege. There we go, delivering the relics to the palace. So Orange has finally invested in some siege of his own. Pardon me. Which is good, because all my siege is clumped up, but he hasn't brought his own trebuchets yet, so I can outrange those siege engines, which he can negate by just dodging with them, but it's micro intensive. See that? Oh, so much wasted, not wasted, but that's really expensive for him to lose all of those. But sure, he's done it, he's pushed through. cost many lives, but he's finally got access to those trebs. Was it a cost-effective war for Orange? Certainly not, but the man has grit and determination. I am trying to escape there with my trebs, which I think, no, they're surrounded. Now, if that had been my only fortress, I would be distressed, shall we say, but it certainly isn't. And here we go. So instead of buying stone and walling up their town, because all I'm able to send there is hussars, those light cavalry, and the walls will keep them out. But instead of doing that, they have abandoned their home and all their eco, and have moved to you can't see it on the map, but they've moved to the the west most corner of the forest. They made their own little forest kingdom. And so I've made the mistake many times of turtling up but not kept an economy going, so I'm always sort of conscious to keep wood and food coming in. So you can see here I'm just building more farms, because if my economy stalls, then it is it can become a bit dicey, shall I say. So Orange is sieging, sundering, ravaging the forward base. The way I play this game is, so I've watched pros play, and there was one occasion where I played against someone who was sort of that level, maybe not top 100, but like, I don't know, it could have been top 1000. But it was, because I'd always looked at the way pros play and been like, yeah, okay, build orders, macro, cool. They're doing all that, but it can feel like the same game you're watching over and over again, because there's very little space for those ingenuitive plays, something surprising to happen. But sure, I played this one game against this guy. He advertised it on the lobby as top 1,100 elo or something, which isn't that high, but just for context, my elo would be wheel profile about maybe 700, which is sort of considered very low elo, like competent but low. But I would like to, just aside, I'd like to keep it low, so that when I did play ranked single player, there were more chill games, because like, it's fun to play challenging adversaries, of course, but it also can get quite, it depends what kind of game you want to play. It can get stressful or fatiguing, and keeping your elo low by conceding games or just resigning or whatever means you can have more chill interactions. But anyway, what was I saying? So I played this game against this guy who was, I guess you'd call it semi-pro, and it was wild, proper experience, so experiential, to show the gap and why they don't have time for like gimmicks and cheeses. So I was severely out of my depth. Just because I like to turtle up, boom, once I have all my upgrades and a nice looking army, then play around. But you're under immediate pressure, and their economy is skyrocketing, and we're playing on like quite a close map, so we were in each other's faces, sure, he drushed me, which is when you send militia to hassle. And I did my thing and tried to quick wall and trying to get resources here and there. And before long, he had skirmishers and crossbowmen, and it was just so much so soon that I was crippled and was sort of limping on. So yeah, I think if you can get to that place where you're extremely confident and you have all those build orders down, and you're like a machine with the macro, the micro, and then on top of that you can think outside the box, that's certainly something. So I've always wanted to play on like one of T90's community games, the Regicide ones, because so similarly I would watch them and go, oh, that's cool, but where's the interesting like diplomacy, where's the intrigue, where's the real fun out of the box plays? But of course they're just with the added pressure of being watched by, you know, the community that you really enjoy, as well as like just that tunnel visioned on what you're doing and surviving. I totally understand it being a secondary thought. There's a series of videos at T90. I don't know if Dave AOE did them too, but certainly T90, which was the Blue Coffee series. So he was like, pardon me, like he had like an infamous sort of mythos by the end of it, because T90 would do the Legend of videos, and he had a series of Blue Coffee, and this guy was not only extremely competent, but he also had that extra flavour of being dastardly and betraying and making alliances, and just really like you never knew what he was going to do, and I loved that. He was really, really fun to watch. So shout out to Blue Coffee. But then I think the problem with that was he became so infamous that people would gun for him whenever he joined, when he was in one of those games, or they wouldn't trust him, so his renown became a hindrance. So I have fully retracted to the forest monastery, had my siege placed there. Now the weak point here is that he could easily just cut through all of that wood line and put pressure on, but he's yet to, they have yet to have that thought. They're just sort of sending poor souls against the fortified positions. Oh, there we go, see, I'm addressing that weakness by just walling up. And best to do this now while things are quiet. Okay, so we've just time skipped a bit here because there was a lull with some skirmishing, but Orange has finally taken that course of action and cut through the wood line, only to find that I have siege ready and walls. So it's a good idea, but I was prepared for it, and straight away sending villagers out to block off that path. There will be no easy victories today. That's another thing I like to do, is always have just lots of villagers knocking about, to repair walls when needed, and just really be a thorn in the side of any invader. So I made double, like, little gate compound there, because many a time have the villagers decided they want to let the enemy in and led them inside straight to the siege. So just having that double gate hopefully negates a bit of that. And Red has had the same idea and is digging his own little path through the woods. Once again, trebuchets are waiting, no free passes here, and the villagers come out to plug the hole. Orange is sending petards to blow up that wall. And he's going to hit some siege as well, is he? No, he's going to leave the siege, go straight for the gate. And he gets it. So he really wants that open path, which would totally have worked if his infantry were there and waiting, and I didn't have villagers or stone, but sure enough I do. So the hole is immediately plugged. Good try, but ultimately futile. More siege coming in, and again outranging them with my trebs. So I mentioned earlier that I like to play Japanese or Tatars, or historically they've always been my favourite civs, and the reason for that is firstly because of the cav archers, but more to the point is they both have unique techs for trebuchets. So Tatars have the longest trebuchet range in the game because of a unique tech in the castle which gives them 2+ range. So that's very important for me when turtling up in a fortress, because I can outrange their siege. There's nothing worse than when you build a lovely fort but they've brought trebs along and they can just knock holes in your walls, and you can't touch them, because to touch them you'd need to move your trebs out of the fortress, which then makes them vulnerable. So with that +2 range you can be even more of an annoying turtle, which I love. Just a side note, bombard cannons should be illegal, and I hate them because they're a good antidote to trebuchets with their mobility. The only way really to combat them is to, there's lots of ways to combat them, but anyway, they're annoying. And with Japanese, their unique tech is for really fast unpacking and packing of trebuchets. I think it's called Karabuto. Probably got that wrong, but they can unpack really fast and pack up so they can move, which obviously is sort of speaks for itself as to why it's helpful. So I think Red's gotten frustrated here and decided to send his Shotel warriors to destroy that unmanned wall. I feel him. Orange has made a little breakthrough there. I think my attention was on Red, so a little late to respond to this, but sure, doesn't matter. And so they're both spending a lot of gold on these unique units. Orange has Berserkers and Red has Shotel, which is fine, but were I in their shoes, all my money would be going to siege, because they can't use those infantry models unless they get into melee, which I'm quite convincingly denying. Okay, so as you can see, I double walled and have pushed the wall perimeter even further out. So to say their siege is progressing, it would be well, it's not going very well for them. Let's put it that way. And my wood and food balances are very healthy. So if push does come to shove, I can spam halberdiers and hussars. And I also have a useful amount of gold in the bank because of those relics I stole. And so here I'm just taking the initiative. He's going to keep picking away at the wood line, so I'll just go ahead and do it myself. And I sent those halberdiers out just to take them away, basically, so that my villagers can work in peace. They're very expendable, those pikemen. I know pikemen lives matter, but not today. So there you go, built myself a little forward siege den. Still on the wood. And orange is wrecking those forward walls with bombards, which is good, but once again, I'm ready with my villagers to clog the hole, and his infantry should be there, like right there to get in, because he could have taken out that entire siege pen, which would have been extremely expensive to replace. In fact, looking at the gold, I wouldn't have been able to. I would have to sell a lot at a loss. He's also sieging that side. So you can see here, orange is fairly confident. He's doing a good job. Red, perhaps more for moral support right now. I would hope that at least red has a decent market up to give orange gold to fund the war, but I'm not sure if that's the case. So orange is kind of winning this treb war, but he's winning, so I'm like, okay, I'll just open the hole up and send the halbs out and then clog it. So all his inventory are on this other side. So, yep. And okay, so he has some berserks there, and so even at this late hour of the siege, the fortress proper remains more or less untouched. And we're having a little cheeky treble there. Orange has cottoned on that is the most effective way to do this, to conduct this war. I think red's also gotten in on that, so it's only taken them a little while, but sure, they've got there. I brought more trebs up. Shouldn't really have them clumped together like that, but it does the job, so. Okay, so the assault has stalled, so I decide to spend all my well-hoarded gold on some conics to basically mess with their offensive. And again, I don't like to allow aggression to go unresponded. So while defense is the best offense, and vis-a-vis, destroying their siege like this takes away that invulnerability thing. I'm not just on their time. There are also consequences to sieging something without building forward defenses. So I'm not going to give away those units for free either. As soon as the siege is done, I've moved them to raiding. And there they are, having a little raid, having a little look around. I can kind of sense at this juncture that those champions they've had a pathing error. I wonder if they're locked in there. No, they're not, but they've been left, so just missed it. And these scouts are basically to see if they were trading, because I was curious as to how they were continually able to afford to lose so much siege. And also just to punish any dastardly attempts to farm in the open. See, that's another thing. When people are scouting, just clicking individual units into different corners means that whoever's pursuing you has to do the same, so it just makes it all the more annoying for if they don't want you to see something, they have to be really on it. And so in like an overview, I would say I'm just as strong now, if not more so than when the siege began. The eco's fine, there's plenty of wood, I've got my relics, unless I've also been continually buying stone when I can afford it to, stockpile it for repairs, but also to hike the price up to stop them building forward castles. I think that's my first major error, is losing all those trebs at once. But it's not the end of the world. And once again, red there, just trying to cut through the stone walls with Shotel warriors with no siege. I guess it didn't work the first time. Okay, so orange says, well, I think he's giving up, and I say, tough nugget to crack. Indeed, says orange. Red says, this is ridiculous. And they're laughing, which is nice. I hope they've enjoyed the siege as much as I have. God, I love to turtle, I say, ain't that the truth? Well, I guess you win, Blue, because this game has gone on way too long. GG, well played. And he resigns. GG both. I say, it has been a good game. And there we go. Victory. Victory through sheer defense. So just having a look around, they really didn't monopolize all the map access they had. There was zero trade. There's Orange's little fortress. But red seems to have disappeared from the map. No buildings, just a couple castles. So they didn't monopolize on trade. But that's okay. That's all, So there we go. The fortress siege has ended, and the blue monastery civ, how do I say it, the Slavic order prevailed.